Welcome to Bird Seeds. This is Joe Bird. Thank you as always for listening. Greatly appreciate it. I'm going to start off this episode. If you have not listened to last week's episode with Scott Nathan, The Journey for Happiness, please go back and listen to that. That may be my best episode I've done. Scott and I were just on a different level of connection, talking about mental health and the search for happiness and that it's a choice. And it came out really, really, really well. I'm very, very happy with it. So please go back and listen to it. Also, on that episode, Scott mentioned a book, 10% Happier. Wow, what a book. The accompanying app that goes with it. I'm still in the middle of it. I'm listening to the audiobook. It's from a newscaster. So he's got a great news voice. He's narrating his own book. I highly recommend the audiobook version if you like audiobooks. Really impressive. I'm getting a lot out of it, and it's really, really, really awesome. Kind of talks a little bit about, it's really cool because it's like a mental health journey, but he's included his story, and his story's got some rough edges to it, and he's open and honest about it. So it's really intriguing from like listening and following along somebody's life journey, but then it mirrors a lot of like the search that I've been on and the journey that I've been on. He talks a lot about Eckhart Tolle, who that's a, complicated character, and he makes fun of him, which I like. But he's also brilliant. So really happy with the book, really happy with the adjoining app. It's a meditation app. So highly encourage you to do it. If you've read it, let me know what you think. If you're reading it, let me know what you think. If you're going to read it, let me know what you think. If you're never going to read it, don't bother, whatever. But as we get into today's topic and today's episode, this isn't going to be a whole episode about the NAR settlement. And you guys know I'm in real estate, so I'm highly affected by the things that happen in the real estate world. And if you don't know, last Friday, NAR settled in a lawsuit, class action lawsuit that they had previously been ruled against, and we're in the middle of appeals. And this was an outcome that a lot of the people that are following it thought that could be the ultimate outcome. We all thought it was going to be 3 to 4 years down the road because of appeals and back and forth, and just legal process takes forever. This settlement came out of the blue, and it turns out it's 3 to 4 months from happening. So it became we're going to have time to figure it out, to, oh gosh, this starts in July. And it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy. I'm not going to get into the details. I'm not an attorney. It's brand new. Today is Tuesday at 3:43 at the moment, and this thing dropped Friday morning. There's so much more to come from this. Like, anybody that says they figured out how it's going to happen, they're either lying to, or they're just off in left field, and that's not going to be the way it happens. And there's so much misinformation. The media is running wild with it, and it's just what the media is saying just simply isn't true in most cases. It's crazy. It's nuts. And unfortunately, the DOJ's involvement, either they are evil and they mean to hurt people, or they just didn't really think through or don't understand what they're doing, because I think the ultimate outcome of this isn't good for the consumers, certainly not good for the agents. It's not good for the economy. I can make lots of arguments why this is bad for the economy. It's ultimately just not good. Unfortunately, it isn't. But it's the reality we live in. So, again, I'm not going to get into the inner workings that we may do that later, we may not. It just depends on the way things develop on that. But I want to get back to like why I do what I do, right? I was meeting with a seller. They're going on the market. Meeting with them yesterday. They're going on the market tomorrow. And we were talking about buying new construction. And the story kind of came up. And the comment I said was, I am never going to be in a situation where I stop somebody from buying a house or selling a house. My job is to help you buy a house, or my job is to help you sell a house. And if I'm standing in the way of that, I am not doing my job. Now, do I deserve to be compensated? Is this a business? Absolutely, 100%. That doesn't change that. But I'm not doing my job if I'm in the way of you getting what you want. I mean, I can't make the decisions. I can tell you shouldn't do it. But if you want to do it, I shouldn't be in your way. And I told him the story about, this is a couple months ago, frankly, when my mom was sick. And I was working with somebody, and we looked at this house. It was like the worst flip I've ever seen. Just cuts out in the joists, and I mean, just hodgepodge, like structural stuff, like just a 4x4, like not even nailed, just jammed up between a cinder block wall that looked like it had been added at some point in a joist. And it's like, what are you guys doing? And dealing with the listing agent was, frankly, to put it mildly, very annoying, very obnoxious. Wouldn't answer my questions. which tells me they're lying, right? If they're not answering your questions and you've asked the same question like 3 or 4 times and have resorted to not putting multiple questions in an email because they only answer everything but that one, and you just literally say the one question in a single line email and they still won't answer it, you got to realize why that is. They don't have a good answer for you, right? You've called them out. You've called them. And, frankly, my response was a little sharp. It was a little agitated, and I'm doing what I think is in my client's best interest, what I think she wants me to do for her based on our conversations. And I'm not rude, I'm not unprofessional, but I get a little bit sharp in the email. Great, will you please answer my question? And unfortunately, and I told this buyer the whole time, you should not buy this house. This house is going to be problems for you. I'm very confident that this was not done properly. And none of these new finishes you see are going to last. You're going to have to redo everything. And likely permits weren't pulled because of what we see here. There's no evidence of it, which means that you open up cans of worms when you go to get other work done. She ultimately wanted to buy the house, and she made a comment like she thought that her offer was going to be judged or tainted by my sharp email to this agent. I said, you know what? My job is to help you buy a house. If you feel that way, there's no winning here for me. If you don't get the house, you're going to think that it was because of me. Let me refer you another agent. She wound up finding an agent. I never followed up. I'm assuming she bought the house, and I hope that she doesn't have the problems that I foresaw her having, but I'm sure she did if she wound up buying it. But at the end of the day, I lost the commission there. I was not going to be the reason. Now, I should point out that when I'm negotiating, or I'm sending these emails, pre-negotiating, whatever you want to call it, they don't know who the buyer is. They only know who I am. I don't say who the buyer's name. They have there hasn't been an offer written. These are questions pre-offer to kind of start the process rolling. And unfortunately, so any of that didn't get in her way. She was able to find another agent, make an offer, no big deal. So but again, I don't want to do something that stands in the way of her getting what she wanted, which was this terrible house. So why do I kind of talk about that? I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I know that my job is to help people buy and sell houses, and I'm really good at that. And as long as I stay focused on that, I think it's going to be okay. I don't know what it's going to look like. It's going to be different. I just don't know. But the other thing I want to talk about is something that I'm blessed, honored, I don't even know what word I want to use here, that I get a lot of settlement gifts from my clients at settlement. And if you're not familiar, it's usually the exact opposite way around. Real estate agents give settlement gifts all the time at settlement, basket of wine or cheese or whatever. And it's usually cheesy stuff, knives, Jelly of the Month Club. No offense, Colleen, on the knives here. But it's something that's like unpersonal. It's just a gift. It's just like you went to Home Goods and bought something silly, or it's a bottle of cheap wine or whatever it may be. If I give a gift, usually it's a birdhouse that I helped design. It's made out of reclaimed cedar. It's subtle marketing because my last name's Bird, but it doesn't have anything to do with, it has no logos, no branding on it or anything. And I give it to people that I know are going to enjoy the nature, right? Or if I know for a fact they love bourbon, or we've talked about a bourbon, I'm going to get them a nice bottle of that. But it's going to be something that's meaningful, direct to something they knew. It's not something that just automatically gets given. Well, the gifts that I have gotten from my clients have always been so incredibly meaningful. I helped a past client sell a townhouse last year, at the end of last year, and they bought me like a $350 bottle of bourbon. Like, whoa, that's incredible. I'd never spend that for myself on a bottle of bourbon. That's awesome. I helped another client, a year and a half ago, sell kind of an older house that they had that they'd lived in for a long time and it was kind of not up to date, had been beat up a bit, get the renovations done on, a reasonable budget, get that done, get it sold. But prior to that, we got them moved out of the house and into their new house, and a big upgrade of a house, both land and all that. And it was a really tight process, and it was a really tight budget, and we nailed it on the dot. And he bought me like a $250 bottle of scotch. Like, whoa, that's insane. And again, these are things they knew that I like these things, and they're meaningful. It's not just a random bottle. It's really important. Well, my favorite is that I got a bottle of wine from a client of mine. They become really good clients. We've referred a bunch of people back and forth to each other. They own a window company. There's awesome, awesome, awesome people. And they bought me a bottle of wine. Well, in our conversations, they knew that I had gotten into wine recently at that point, and I liked U.S. West Coast wines. Call my palate dull or whatever, but that's what I generally tend to. Big, bold reds, cabs, Syrahs. And whether it's like Walla Walla Valley in Washington State or Wilmette in Oregon or, your typical Napa Valley or whatever it might be, right? Paso Robles I really like. But they bought me a bottle of wine from California by a company called Stag's Leap, which I love their wine. Their Petite Syrah is probably one of the best bang for the buck wine out there. But they bought me a bottle called Ne Cede Malis. It's Latin. Ne Cede Malis. What it means is yield not to misfortunes, or never concede to the malice. The reason they have that bottle there, it's one of their reserves, it's like a $160 bottle of wine or something like that, is that was the Chase family motto who founded Stag's Leap in 1893, all the way back then. But no Cede Malis. So why did my clients give me this bottle that stood for yield not to misfortunes? Well, we had a really, really, really hard transaction. So I'd sold them the house years before. They weren't really looking to move. They found a house that was like their dream house. They wanted to buy it. They had to sell their house first. The sellers of the second house were in a tight deadline. They weren't going to take a contingency unless we were under contract. My clients didn't want to move unless it was that house. That's a really big catch-22. What do you do? Well, I was able to find them an off-market buyer through an agent on my team who had a buyer that wanted to be in that area, scheduled it, got it all done, under contract, contingent on some normal stuff. Well, unfortunately, if it wasn't the worst appraisal that I've ever seen in my career, it was the second worst appraisal. We underappraised by like $35,000, which had no basis in reality, had no basis in logic. The comps were there. I have no idea why this appraiser appraised was so low, but he did, and refused to make any adjustments. Well, I think 99% of the times, something like that would just kill this deal. I think most agents would just give up. Say $35,000, seller, you're not going to drop that much, right? No, buyer, you're not going to come up that much. We don't have a deal, and that buyer would have not bought the house. My sellers wouldn't have sold their house. My sellers wouldn't have bought their next house, and those sellers wouldn't have bought their next house. And I went, no. No may be the answer. It's the last answer we're going to find. That's one of my mantras in life is like, I can't control. I don't know what the answer is going to be, and it might be no. But I'll tell you, we will have exhausted every single option. We've uncovered every single stone before we admit that no is the answer. Like, we're not going to just give up. And I went and looked at it and I said, all right, $35,000 is a lot of money to come up with here. But we've got a buyer, we've got a seller, we've got the seller buyer, we've got a seller, and we got a seller buyer, and we got a seller. Which means that we have like 3 lenders in here, we have like 3 title companies, we have like 4 real estate agents. If everybody can give in a little bit, we can come up with this $35,000. And we did, and we got the settlement on time. Did everybody lose a little? Sure. But did everybody win? Did everybody get what they wanted? Yeah. But it's because I didn't let myself get freaked out by something I couldn't control. That was a misfortune. It was 100% a misfortune that we got a bad appraisal. But we didn't yield to it. We figured it out. That's why they gave me that bottle. That meant so much to me in that moment. It still means so much to me that they recognized that I was going to figure it out. And I want to take that to now and say, we can't control what happened. Is it a misfortune? 1,000%. I already said, I don't think the regulators have understood what they wanted. They're either evil and they want to hurt people, or they just don't understand the repercussions of what they're trying to do. I don't know which one's true. Doesn't matter. It's a misfortune. I know that most of the people are going to give into it. They're going to yield to it. And there's going to be a lot of people leaving the business. But the ones that don't yield to it, the ones that just say, no, we're going to make this happen. The cream always rises to the top. The ones that work hard, that are honest, that have integrity, the ones that look for opportunity, the ones that are creative, the ones that just forget about their perceived notions and what they already know and just look forward at what's coming, what's here today, what's coming, using the experience of the past, we're going to prevail. So do it. Don't let this scare you away. Don't let this ruin it. We're going to win. We are going to persevere. We're not going to survive. We're going to thrive. The cheesiest saying, but we will. No Cede Malis. Thanks for listening to Birdseeds. Have a wonderful day.